Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, live show number 538. I am your host, Lauren Gray. Thank you so much for joining me. And sorry for the little blurb. For some strange reason, the show started and died. So we had to reset everything and start it over. So if you caught the earlier one about 2 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, that started and died, and we're back. Technology, gotta love it. Anyways, thank you all for joining us. And for those of you in the United States, and any place that you're celebrating Thanksgiving, mostly United States, right? Very happy Thanksgiving to everyone. It is Black Friday. That's a term actually out of the 209 countries that we broadcast to, a large amount of them are familiar with retail highlights like Black Friday that are just key opportunities for business to do business. It has been interesting to watch it. For me, it's enjoyable, much to my wife's chagrin, to watch the A game of great marketers, great communicators, great message creators, and so forth, and very creative people come up with stuff very similar to Super Bowl. All of the commercials that come out of Super Bowl, it's amazing to see the quality content. And I've really noticed a really great skill of advertisements coming out now that gets emotionally connected and attached and so forth. It gives you great ideas as to things to do and so forth. And with the amazing growth of AI and the usage of AI, the abilities of AI, the quality of AI coming through more and more, as much as you may not like it or worried about it, as I, there is this remarkable side to it that is just impressive to see. The ability to take what you want to do and make it do something. Anyway, we'll get to that in just a second. Thank you again for joining us. You're watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch. Thanks so much. Our TV channel, the Hospitality Channel. Thank you so much for that. Hospitality Radio, listening to us live from there. Thank you for that. So here we are, knee deep into the holidays at that pivot point, just right after Thanksgiving for the United States. We rush into headlong into the heaviest of retail opportunities or marketing opportunities, holiday opportunities. They're all blended together now. Globally, that impacts you in different ways, whether it's production and value or whether it's your own holidays that come around at this time also as well. And it brings us to our topic that there's a couple of things that are going on, both in what we do for our work and the things that our work is for. And so the topic today is coming out of the fact that I'm finding myself metaphorically chasing my tail. Anyway, familiar with that old phrase where you feel like you're just going around doing something that isn't what you intend to do, but it's something you're focused on doing. So our topic today is related to how fast things are changing for us right now. And so the idea I had about this is the paradox of choice. It sounds very highfalutin. How does that happen in hospitality marketing? We're going to get two facets of how it affects hospitality marketing. One, what we're doing and how we're doing it, and two, the people that we're trying to communicate with and how that is creating a lot of confusion because there's just so much to do. And I'm bringing that together with my conversation. Anybody's a Snoopy fan, I'll bring that together in chapter 2. The paradox of choice. For those that are unfamiliar with the concept of paradox of choice is a concept that was introduced by a psychologist named Barry Schwartz, that he suggested that the more options we have, the less satisfied we feel with our decision. The idea of it is I saw this in full play to me once when I was at a doctor's office, and the gentleman before me, we were waiting in line to step away. We're going to the same counter to check out. And we both had the task of getting ourselves rescheduled for our next visit. And he was presented with everything, anywhere, anytime, because of whatever he needed to get done. It took him, 15, 20 minutes. It was, that's well, if I had a choice, I'd choose this. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, just pick one. Anyways, I get up there, and for whatever I had to do, I was given 3 choices, this, and this. And pick this, boom, okay. And 5 seconds later, it was done. Now, that's one prime example of just the variety of choices. The other is, and this goes to the retail component of this, if you go in to buy a product, whether it's an electronic product or not, I'm into electronic products, obviously geeky, and there's version A, B, C, D, E, and F. Each one has a slight variation. Now, all of a sudden, I'm faced with a much harder choice, and I have to spend an abnormal amount of time. That even though product A fills everything that I had thought I wanted to buy the product for, product B has a feature that I'm not quite sure I needed, but they put it on there, so maybe I want it. What would I use that for? So now I have to postulate as to what I would do with that extra feature. And gosh knows C, well, C has that and this. And the next thing you know, I'm just staring blankly at this product, going through the sequences of what it is that I want, when really, if I were to keep my connection of what I was looking for versus what I was presented, I would have picked the product that reached the threshold, boom, and got it. And even if I picked one of the products, I would walk away going, did I leave something on the table? Did I leave something there? So the whole idea of this paradox of choice is very real and present for our guests. A lot of times with clients, when I'm working with them on their strategies and market and so forth, they do a very big shotgun of things. They might have 15, 20 different options that are available for guests to decide and choose from. They think that I have product A, which is rates. Get a room in our hotel. Great. But I have a weekend offer. Well, what is that? Now, we know that's to promote the fact that we're maybe trying to get people to come in on the weekend, so we're incentivizing them with the value proposition. I mean, these are real strategies, right? That we're including breakfast. Yeah, but I don't want to go on the weekend. I want to go on the weekdays, but I get free breakfast on the weekend. How can I work it together on the weekend? Now I'm making these choices, slowing me down. I could have bought what I saw. I saw the rooms available for the dates that I was looking for. But now there's these options. Okay. Then I see that there's a third option. Well, there's the option that includes breakfast, but there's also a discount to the spa. Well, I haven't really thought about the spa. Maybe do I want to go to the spa? And you see the same process begin to happen. And what ends up happening in the very real sense is that our guest, who is there to make a purchase, walks away not making a purchase, wondering whether or not what to do as a decision of what they end up wanting to do. Like, well, maybe I do want to include the weekend. Maybe I do want to go to a spa. Maybe I want to include the golf package. Maybe I want to, and because of that, it reopens the question to them, is this the place I want to purchase from? Because if these things are being made available to me here, all the other options that I discarded to come here are now back in play as if they offer the similar same things. What they are offering in contrast to these other options I'm having. And this paradox of choice comes in. And the next thing you know, you had a person that was ready to purchase and off they go. So there's two ways to solve this, really, well, three, but two ways to solve this best. One, don't offer as many choices openly and in front. And what I mean by that is you make it where the channel that they go through goes to the place that was convincing them that that was what they're going to purchase. Now, coming into play of the paradox of choice comes in FOMO, fear of missing out. Going in, and you've seen the ads on TV where the person's at the front counter and they're saying, well, I paid $250 for this from the person next to me. Oh, I paid $125. What? Yes, because I used this product and they gave me a lower price. Dude, drives people crazy. Drives me crazy. Or I could have got something and I didn't. Whether I needed it or not is not the point. The fact that I didn't get something I could have gotten. Small sidebar story. Running restaurants, nightclubs back in the day. We were promoting a particular product, liquor, whatever it is like this. We would be also given a variety of t-shirts and things like that to go along, a lot of swag. And the things that people would do for a chintzy cheap t-shirt that they probably would never really truly wear in public at that time, because the hype of the environment that you were in was amazing. People wanted what that was there, and they wanted to show that they got it compared to everybody else. And the contest would make people do, and the things that for these things that end up being in a box back in the back office that we just end up we threw them away, kind of thing. That kind of fear of missing out is a very real thing that happens, and it's very powerful for us as marketers to use when it's to the benefit of the guest. That you should not make this choice without understanding all the things you could get, should you be aware of them. That's a value proposition to the guest. Doing this as a taunt to them creates this paradox of choice that ends up freezing them, and they end up making no choice from that process, or having such an elongated process that they then, even though they picked what they wanted, are disappointed with what they got in the fear that they may have missed out on something, that they're not as fully happy with their decision on what they had. So going back to the two ways of getting this in front of people, one is, of course, reducing their options. To my point when I was talking to clients about their revenue strategies, about the multiplicities of specials and offers, make them less about your general market strategy and more about specific marketing campaigns. If you're having a weekend campaign, let it run with a weekend campaign. Let it not necessarily show up in your market strategy. Now, you might say that's kind of productive. Well, if I have the offer, why wouldn't I want to make it available to everybody? Because I want to sell. I want to sell, and that's a valid point. Except for when it comes to this choice reduction process, where by throwing that in there, you are creating confusion. If I'm looking for weekdays, then let me choose the options that are present for what my choice is. If you're taunting me with things or teasing me with things that I didn't consider, but are considerable in the sense that they're close and tethered enough, that's a differentiator. Case in point, if they're coming in on a Monday and there's an amazing concert on Sunday that they weren't aware of, and there was a package offer that if you came in the weekend before, you get included in going to the concert, then maybe you want to let them know. There's platforms that do that exceptionally well, like Flip2, where it shows by the dates you've chosen what's going on, not only in those dates, but in the surrounding dates. So it gives you a perspective of value. Like, oh my gosh, if we just could change our dates by a week, we could go to this concert. That's helpful information. Does create paradox of choice. It does dilute the purpose, but the arbitration of how people choose, which we don't know, is were they truly set only on those dates, or were they looking for the experience? Now, that process happens more in destination marketing than it is in logistical marketing. Logistical marketing is I'm a roadside hotel or a airport hotel or a mid-tier hotel, duration of stay because of training or whatever have you. The business model, what you're there for, is different. Then it's not so much about all these other ways of choosing whether or not you can shift their dates and so forth. The people have to be there for the reason that they have to be there. But destination marketing does expand what you need to make available to people or make them aware of, so that they have a better informed choice and don't blame you for not letting them know that there were other things to consider in their destination decision with you. So delimiting, okay, and versus limiting the options that you make present to people changes that paradox problem for them. That side of the equation with our guests is always a balancing act, because we want them to be aware of what is the best value for them, but we don't want to create this paralysis choice where it dilutes or even stops them from making a decision to purchase and stay with us. So, I want to make one other example. Sorry, I don't want to make a restaurant example. TGI Fridays, back in the day, was great at what it first did. It created the happy hour concept. For those that don't know, it's not that you didn't go to bars to do happy hour, okay? It was the fact that you didn't have it as a promotional tool. It wasn't one of those things that you did that was highlighted, okay? So TGI Fridays started this happy hour thing, and they had a very concise menu. By the time they went bankrupt, the first time, they had a Bible. It was actually more of a joke than it was a Bible. The menus themselves were the better part of 8 pounds. They were in a ring binder, for all intents and purposes. The servers and the hostess and so forth had to carry them with 2 hands to a table. They handed them out because they ended up being so many things to cover the spectrum of anything and everything everyone was wanting. Any food interest of any type was represented in this biblical menu. What they created was a bloated cost to operate the restaurant, a lot of lost and squandered product just to maintain its presence on the menu, a very diverse build in the kitchen because of all the equipment and the options necessary to create these complex things. There's not a lot of crossover product usage and so forth. A lot of the foundational reasons to have a full circular menu development were exactly the opposite. They were the poster child of what you shouldn't do with the menu diversification. And that paralysis of choice that they were constantly presenting to guests diminished their value. because what ended up happening was by the time the person went through the menu, either they're no longer hungry or truly didn't know what they were hungry for. And that diminished sales. They're thinking they're improving their sales by making sure they're all things to everybody. And the reverse effect happened. The people ended up not eating as much or buying as much or staying as long because they didn't know what they ended up wanting because TGI Fridays started offering 5 flavors of pizza. They knew there was a better pizza place that they really did like that was around the corner. If they wanted pizza, now they changed their mind. They're like, well, now I'm in the mood for pizza. I don't like this pizza as much as I like that pizza, so let's get out of here and go to that pizza. That happened too much. That paradox of choice is what we have to constantly fight when it comes to what we offer our guests. If we're saying, here's what we have, and here's all the variations of what we have, the guest is trying to figure out the gimmick. It goes to a little bit to one of the inspirations of the show today was a little bit about watching people's ads and the gimmickry that goes along with this. They tout 50% off, but it's because they throw in a couple of free items, but then they have a subscription requirement that goes in. So they're giving away a couple of free pieces that probably wasn't going to buy anyway, but hey, if you're giving it to me for free, I'll take it, right? But then you look at it, it's like, well, I get that stuff, but now I'm on the hook for another 30 days later. I have to buy some more product or a subscription to this. So even though I'm getting 50% off and getting stuff that I don't really think I was going to need, I'm actually going to spend twice as much because I have to pay for the subscription to get to it. These gimmicky things drive me nuts. Well, we as a culture are very used to this. We can smell BS in a lot of places. And so when you see an offer, you begin to try to break it apart as a user to see where the image of what they're giving you versus what it's really getting is broken. Okay, so I get 3 nights. I get the 3rd night free. If I check in on Saturday, I can get Monday. So you want me to stay Monday? Got that. I don't need to stay Monday. I had no interest in staying Monday, but I'm getting it for free, so I don't want to give it up. So do I want to stay extra Monday? Well, what's happening Monday? Well, then you find out most everything's closed, and all you did was waste a day sitting in a hotel room because there's nothing there around you to do. Not really worth the free day. If you're getting a meal, we're going to go over and buy you dinner if you get in. Great. But then you read where the meal is just these 2 or 3 items on it, and there's no choices for the meal. You're not getting it off the menu. You are getting these things, a bologna sandwich kind of mentality. That kind of gimmicky stuff is very counterproductive to the whole process. And what creates the paradox of choice is because we have to sort through all that. One, we have to decide, is it of value to us? And we assign value to things that are given to us and so forth. And then the other is, do we want it enough to include it into our decision process? And then the third of it is, are we validating what we're being told we're going to get from what we're being asked to pay for? That is what creates the slowdown. And the more any of those turn negative, the more any of those turn into ambiguous or not certain, or I can't quite see why they would do that, or what is it that they're not telling me, or maybe that isn't as good for me as I want, or is it really worth it for me to do, creates less and less of an actual purchase decision. Now, one of the things to combat this with, which is eventually getting better, is dynamic pricing. The ability to say, I'm going to come in for these rooms, but if I pick these items, like if I pick, I want to eat at the restaurant. Well, if you want to add it to it now, if you want to buy $100 credit to our restaurant, we'll give you $150 value, or we'll change the room rate down X percentage. And if you add spa to it, then not only will we get a good deal at the spa, but we'll lower the price down we'll increase the value of the credit for food and beverage, and we'll lower the room rate. So this dynamic pricing, by piecing things together, people can visually see what they're good at getting by adding more than they originally thought they were going to purchase. They knew we were going to spend it anyway. They didn't know it was being made available in this format. Now, all of a sudden, it's not the paradox of choice. It's the ability to customize what it is that they're wanting to get from you, and you're rewarding them with what they're picking and adding it together, that dynamic pricing. Now, that's hard to do, and there's nobody who's really doing it well at this point. Well, let's say that wrongly. Very few people are doing it well, and there's very few platforms that are capable of this. and it's still a very manual process. And this is where agents, travel agents, and people can really collaborate and work with it. They can create these deals where if they contact the hotel, well, if I add this in, can I get this and this and this? That's the negotiation process. Well, guess what? We are in a world now where we're getting tools for our users that can begin to do these things. They can create agents or have agents. I've been watching more and more ads, maybe because it's me and then Google focuses on me, where Google is promoting and featuring using Gemini to plan trips by asking about doing the trip. That quintessential personal AI travel agent that we've been talking about for months now, where you are collaborating with the AI agent that will go then and fetch. Remember, we had to talk about AI browsers now being used, the Comet browser and so forth, that are out there now that can go off and continually do something for you. You can ask it to go look and check and farm and find and do everything else, because it will go and it creates a small agent based on what your query is to go do the things you ask it to do. And so now you can have your agent AI go and fetch what you're looking for. Now, right now, it's still in a rudimentary process because people are still equating how they've historically done it themselves, and they're translating that to the AI agent. I want to find the best hotel room rate for these dates in this city. Something very straightforward that they would do in their own search. They're only cutting down one leg of the portion of where they go look, and they see the meta come up or something, and they see the prices and they see the options that they have and so forth. They're automating their own steps. Eventually, the progression of that ability is going to get into the more existential conversations of, I'm planning a trip, want to be an enjoyable one. I'm thinking about when to be by the water. I want a few events going on that weekend, something fun. So maybe sometime in March. I'm flexible, maybe sometime in March, but I want it to be a weekend so it's easy for me to get away. I don't want to fly too far. And you do this whole thing. And the AI agent is going to keep track of everything that you're telling it about. And you'll maybe clarify. It might say, well, I found these places that might be of interest to you. Which one do you think is more interesting? Well, option A, I like that one first. Okay, great. What kind of hotel are you in the mood for? Blah, 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 blah. Do you want one with a spa? Do you want one with a pool? Do you want one by the water? Do you want one on the mountainside? Whatever. You'll refine your request in some ways. And it keeps giving you what it finds in the results of this. And eventually it's going to say, with everything we've talked through, this seems to be the combination. This is the flight you're looking for, or the drive you're looking for. This is the hotel you're looking for. This is the restaurant you're looking for. These are the events you're looking for. What do you want to do with it? Now, right now, we don't trust AI agents enough, and for good reason, that they have the autonomy to run their own control over our finances, that they can just do the credit card if we told them to. That's a scary step for us, me included, where, because that means that if somebody were to somehow modify or get control over the agent that I use, they could exploit that functionality. But getting to the point where the AI agent brings it together, so, here, everything's fine. Just let us know. And if you click on this link, it's going to go in and you just have to authorize the credit card, put the credit card information in, and it's good. That's already happening. So the AI agent capabilities for our guests are improving to such a degree already now that this is going to be a very real, persistent world situation for us next year. Now, with that, everything I said about the multiplicities of combinations and values and prepositions and so forth turns into a whole different value. You don't have to have this present in your market strategy for users to see, but you, by definite all means, need to have it very clearly understood for AI agents to see in your site, that they see that these options are being presented by you. For them, the multiplicity of choice, there is no paradox of choice when it comes to an AI. The AI agent's there based on qualification of the best representation of its query. That's what gets used. And so there's no ambiguity to that. And you want this information available to them. So where I said first, from a strategy point of view, reducing your choices to a user, creating less of a paradox of choice for them, is a benefit to making decisive conversions for you. That is completely inverted with saying that the information should be made available to an AI agent that would need that understanding that you are offering those things to include it in its results that it presents to the user request. That's happening now. It's being advertised for now. It's getting better and better each and every day now. I mean, I see progressively, oh my gosh, things that I thought were on the bleeding edge 3 weeks later are everybody's doing it. It is so fast that these things are changing with how they're being used, what they're being used for, what the bots and capabilities are being used for. Um, Funny, I have a friend, give you a great example of how fast these things happen. We were talking about that there was a really neat printed map back in the day showing all of the waterfront restaurant bars that you can get to by boat in the area that I'm in, which is really one of the beautiful things about being here in Cape Coral is that there's so many of these things and so forth. And he says that it's always so hard, being on the boat, hard to see, hard to read, hard to see, and then you have to call them up if you're there, or do they even have a phone number? How many slips do they have? Are they available at that time? Because if you're on the boat, do I go in there and go all the way up there to find out that there's no place for me to actually dock? Compared to tell me that there's availability and I'll make it up there, or tell me that it usually takes only 15, 20 minutes and I can get into a slip or whatever, all that stuff. So I remember that. I remember that piece of paper. And they actually asked the guy to print it bigger so that they could see it easier and so forth. And it was incomplete. Really just had the names of the places. There was no phone numbers. There was nothing, just a stylized map, not even an accurate chart or anything, just stylized map with a round circle with a number on it that corresponded with the number where the restaurant's on. So you've seen these kind of things. So I took AI and took a tool that I love to use. We've talked about it on the club, and we've talked about it on the podcast called Lovable, which creates applications. And took an image of it and went over and outlined exactly what I wanted it to do. I knew it was missing a lot of information, so I said, well, first we got to go over and find all the phone numbers and the contact points, and if there's any information about slips and what kinds and how many's, and what are the menus, and what are their hours of operation, and what is the way to communicate, phone call, radio frequency, whatever. And a lot of them don't have that, which is a detriment to them that they don't have this information. But then that's okay, because I have an AI agent-based platform that can actually call and gather the information. I was going to build that and say, that's a little extreme to make the point about AI. I think I could call the handful of restaurants, actually it was more than a handful, a dozen-ish or so, restaurants that don't have that complete information that we want, and just fill it in manually. But I made an application. You go and it's map-based, so it shows you on a map. It shows the area, things around you on the map. And now I'm changing it to where it's color-coded. If they keep up with what availabilities they have, then it'll change the colors. Now, right now, most of them don't. No, there's no place, because they've never needed to do this, keeps up with, if I have no slips, I let people know. I automated a response on the radio going, hey, ABC restaurant is, there's no slips currently available. There's 20-minute wait time or something. Much like any popular restaurant, there's a wait time. And we can often go and see that on an app like, Open Table that says, there's a 20-minute wait or 30-minute wait. We know that we can add ourselves to the wait list. Okay. Which is a thing I thought about adding it into this app. Is like, you're on the boat, you're enjoying yourself, you're getting hungry and you're looking. There's 3 or 4 places that you might consider as an option to it. You see that everyone has a wait list and you want to say, well, my favorite out of these 4 is this one. So let me put myself on that wait list. And it notifies you when you're within X amount of time saying where you're coming up on the wait list. So you can begin to anchor up, put your gear away, fire up, and start heading over to the restaurant. The functional value of that is fun. And I was doing it as a point to prove to my friends that AI has come that way that fast, that you can just say, wow, there's nothing out there like this. Let's make this and make it helpful. Now, my other trick is to see whether or not you can put these waypoints into the mainstream navigation, the Garmin's and the so forth that sit on our boats, so that the information is in there. I mean, I can breadcrumb it, which is the little dots that follow you when you ride a boat on your GPS, that you put a point in and say, I want to make that as a waypoint. So when I'm looking at my chart, I can remember, like, oh yeah, that restaurant right there. Yeah, I've been there before, blah, blah, blah. But having it where this information is more relevant and current makes it pretty cool. I can do it on the iPad, which is pretty cool. But I digress in making a point of saying things are traveling quickly, changing quickly. And AI agents and their usabilities, it's always impressive to see what people are doing with them and how fast they're doing with it. Because the biggest question is people getting educated on how to ask questions. The prompting is still the biggest. And there's apps now to help you create good prompts so that you can use other bigger tools to do more of what you want them to do. So some of the most useful apps right now, AI agents right now, are AI agents that help you craft how to ask a better prompt question, starting point, with other AI agents that do more complex things. And the progression of those things and the better ways that you don't, sometimes prompts are a mile long and other ones are more concise and then they're expanded upon. Knowing how and when to do that kind of stuff is fascinating things. And that's how fast it's changing. Everything I'm just now talking about at the beginning of this year was not a part of the discussion. You still had fundamentally the Chat GPT, the Perplexities, the Claudes, the Llamas out there that you could go to and have a blank blinky screen that you had to type a query and get better at understanding how to ask a question. And it had some rudimentary, image changes and things and so forth. And now I'm sending out holiday deepfake videos for fun to my friends, wishing them happy Thanksgiving from their favorite stars or whatever things, where it's fun, it's personal, it's not business, it's just fun. These kind of things, it's humorous to see and hear in their voice and so forth, and it's scary at the same time. But these are the fun aspects of it. It's not to be malicious. I'm not making ads for these people, because that requires a commercial endorsement. That requires more than what you're capable of doing. This is a fun, private, person-to-person communication. The idea is that there's good aspects to these things that need to be appreciated, but very cautiously understanding what the bad aspects are. So we've talked about the consumer side of paralysis of choice. I'd like to continue with what I'm saying briefly about the paralysis of choice from the business side of it for us. And I say that firsthand with, I have this amazing tool. We talked about it, well, briefly. We've talked a lot about it in the club, so I always have to step back. We've talked a lot about it on the Hospitality Club. And the club I'm referring to is the hospitalitymarketing.club. It's a peer-level group of hospitality marketers. If you want to join, go to the website, hospitalitymarketing.club, put your email in, I send you a quiz, to validate that you're a hospitality marketer. Then you join the club and you join the peer group that you're most comfortable with. There's people that go way off in deep land for certain things, SaaS development and so forth. And then other people are very much about strategic development of marketing and so forth. Anyways, talked about this paralysis of choice when it came to AI and hospitality marketing. And this tool we're talking about that is about the ability to create things, Yapper. You see it a lot in the very popular viral animation videos where the Bigfoot is walking in a POV view, visiting places and so forth. That's pretty popular here in Florida right now. One is a stormtrooper, and you get to appreciate when you start using the platform how good they've gotten building those, because how long they are and the continuity of them and the story arc and the humor in them. Really cool, because you see what they do now and you're seeing, wow, that took a lot of clarity in their prompt to make that scene, and especially last as long as it did and say what it did and how it did it and timing wise. It was great. Well, here's my issue. What I'm bringing this all up for is you have the world at your feet with this tool. You can now create. I can take an image of a lobby, and I can have whomever I want. I'm not talking about famous people, probably, but ethnically, gendered, aged, whatever actor I want in there, doing what I want. Do I want them to sit on the couch? Do I want them to sit down with a cup of coffee on the couch? Do I want them to walk up to the front desk? Do I want a male or female desk agent? Do I want an older or younger desk agent? Do I want it ethnically changed? Whatever I want, I can create with a real image of a business and put it in. And I'm sitting there, and just the profundity of being able to do that, where before, and still is, and there's some amazing photographers and videographers that are out there that do this. But to do that, you have to stage it. It has to be pristine. There has to be nothing in the field of view. You have to have actors and actresses that you hire, and script. The script, I mean, this is what you're going to do. Not necessarily that they talk, but they script. And you have to have scheduled time where you're blacking out the entire area. It has to be in pristine lighting. It has to be during a specific time so that the lighting is the best for whatever it is that you're shooting. Everything has to be done. Staging of the flowers, the wetting of the ground to make sure it shines. The landscaping is perfect. Everything. Okay. It costs tens of thousands of dollars to get a good photo shoot, a quality photo shoot that you use for everything, your website, your promotions, everything. You use it over and over and over on stuff. And here now, you can take that quality of stuff and adapt it to what you want. But the other scary part of it is you can also take almost as good, where the lobby's quiet and pretty and beautiful, and you take a picture. Now, maybe the flowers you don't want. Well, you can take them out of the image. I want these type of flowers. You put them in the image. I want the lighting to be better. You adapt the lighting. I want the colors to be more vibrant on this. You vibrate, you enhance the luminosity of those colors. You do all these things, and now you get the image that you like. Great. Now take that image and say, now this is what I want. I want people to walk through the front door with their kids, touting a couple of small little, you start describing the scene, and now AI will create that for you. And then now you have a video excerpt, 8 seconds long, 5 seconds long, 4 seconds long, 15 seconds long, whatever you like, that you can now use for your ads. There's nothing inauthentic about it. It is your lobby. What's inauthentic is that you staged it for that, but then you're already doing that with actors and actresses anyway. That those are the implied guests. The idea of it is that we're being given more and more tools. Why bring this up about the paradox of choice? It freezes you into inactivity. I'm sitting here going, well, it's going to take a little bit of work to do that. The fact that I can do it is amazing. Do I need it and where? And what would I use it for? And then you start backstepping and you get into this, but if I did that one, then I probably want to do like this. And next thing you know, you've painted yourself in the corner of paradox of choice, where there's so many things I could do. I literally have done none of them, but I could. That paradox of choice is coming, and it is very present right now. Right now, we're in a bit of a, I wouldn't say a lull, because it's actually full tilt, but it's a bit of a lull of both interest and investment as to people's time. This is holiday time. There's people taking personal time. The holidays are running with or without our engagement with them. For those working day by day in our businesses, this is, I lived the life. There was no holiday that didn't work. This is busy, heavy time. This is constant work, banquets and events and people traveling because of the holidays and so forth. It's not as if our industry is being quiet to this, but the back of the house, in the sense of the executive committee and so forth, they're just right now more operationally driven than anything. They're not thinking about market strategies. The market strategies they're thinking about are the ones that they set in place for this time. Our Thanksgiving campaign just wrapped up. Black Friday campaign is now running. Cyber Monday is going to be running. Christmas, Hanukkah, roll up, New Year's, blah, 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 blah. This is all rolling forward. Okay. All of this is happening because it's already been pre-planned. There's no future tense conversations going on right now when it comes to marketing. Marketing is like, get out of the way. I gotta hustle on a banquet, or I gotta hustle for check-ins or checkouts. We're very operationally focused at this point. And then we're going to get shot out of the cannon at the end of the year, and we're in January. Now, for some, that goes into full season. Snow season for some is amazingly heavy. For most, in general, it's a lull. Waiting for spring break to roll in, come late February, roll in, and all through March, and depending on how Easter lands, into April. So these are those times. And what we're going to find is when we wake up to being shot out of the can next year, that these tools are sitting in front of us. And there's all these things we can do with them. But we have to decide what to do with them and how to do with them. Our strategies of how people are engaging with us have changed over this period of time, where they are asking AI more about planning and helping plan what they're doing. And how we present our product is very much about how we get discovered. And we're not doing a lot of that right now because we're in the middle of what we're having to do for the holidays. But we're going to have to do those next year. Plus, we have this kind of end and beginning mentality. We go through the budgeting process and so forth, and when we're finally done with it, we're done with it, we get into the holidays. And then we come out of the holidays, and then we dust off what we produced in budgets and start our day, and let's finish the year with a bang. Let's finish our year well so we can hit bonuses. Let's make sure we do 2025 numbers that we're all proud about. We have our own celebration for that. And then we start afresh and anew in 2026. That start-stop mentality means there's a gap point of continuity that doesn't happen. And that is critical for us now, because the world is changing this much, this fast. And by the time we wake up to what we're now having to deal with, starting our new budgets, starting the new year, starting a different seasonal shift, we're going to find that the people that we're talking to are not listening the same. And in some ways, not listening at all, because we're no longer putting things in front of them in a way that they're using the information from. So I'm not saying add on top of all the things you have to do right now, but keep aware. Take this time you have private time. Read up on stuff. Catch up on those news things you always thought you'd catch up on. Use AI to summarize stuff. So if you're looking and going, I'm not going to watch a 30-minute video of Lauren talking, I'm going to ask AI to summarize it. Actually, we put a summary on the website, by the way, that AI does. And get caught up with some of the highlights and the points, things to consider, and so forth, and condense it so that you feel that by the time, no ignoring the holidays, but by the time the new year rolls in, you're wheels up, ready to go. Let's see, I'm feeling comfortable with what's been happening. I feel like I got some great ideas. I'm ready to influence the new year on and get into that mind and mode set. That helps clear the paradox of choice for us. Because if you are waiting until the holidays pass to sit down and say, okay, let's pick up the mantle again and let's get back at it, you're going to realize, oh, okay, that's different. Okay, that I didn't know it could do that. And then the next thing you know, you're playing catch up when other people are playing head start. So paradox of choice can slow you down, can speed you up. Users versus us, our guests in comparison to us, all these variations. Hopefully it's been helpful, open dialogue. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday weekend for those that have an extended weekend. For those of you in the biz that's grinding out the dailies, it's Thanksgiving weekend. You got past the biggest hump of it. Now it's a matter of the residuals, everyone enjoying and staying, and then the travel exoduses that are going to be coming soon, and the massive checkouts and so forth that happen. So I wish you all well and safety. To that end, thank you for everyone that watches us simulcasted on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on our TV channel. Our TV channel, everything broadcasts to at least 29 countries. We translate into 11 languages. We have Hospitality Radio, radio station. You can check us out there. I Love Lucy rerun platform is our hospitalitychannel.tv. Everything is indexed by data broadcast, host, and or topic content, where the summaries are at as well. And if you get a chance to listen to radio stations, we have a very diverse amount of podcasts on Hospitality Radio. You look for the Hospitality Channel. And then, of course, TV. All of our shows are available on the free side of the pay gateway for that. So with that, my name is Loren Gray. I thank you for the privilege of your time and look forward to talking to you all next week.